Greetings and welcome everybody to my YouTube channel, All That Is. I'm so glad to have you joining us today and for all future recordings. I'd appreciate it if you can love, like, and share this video, comment on it, leave a comment, let us know what you think, where you're tuning in from, um, and help me out with the channel by subscribing, hit that notifications bell so you get notified on all future updates. Today, I'd like to introduce you to my lovely friend, Katrice. Katrice has been involved in holistic healing arts over the last 35 years. She has healed herself from a disintegrating vertebrae in her lower back, which would have put her in a wheelchair in her 30s. Katrice took charge of her own destiny and her body by turning away from surgery and engaging with energy healing. And that would be body, mind, and spirit, engaging with exercise, meditation, and Reiki. Katrice and myself go back probably to about 2016, according to Facebook. Well, Facebook is good for some things, right?
Yeah.
um, Anyway, I used to attend Katrice's meditation circles back then, and we've done so intermittently over the years. Like she and I moved away, and we've moved homes. I moved away to Salt Spring Island, and then I came back to the Vancouver area. So we've been in and out of touch, but we've maintained that occasional chat on Facebook, right?
Yeah.
And then recently I bumped into Katrice at the bookstore where I promoted my books, and we picked up our friendship there again. And so since then, I've attended a meditation circle that Katrice organized at her house, and we started talking about doing a regular show. And so here we are going to explore that, right? And so we figured we've got a lot of things in common in terms of our experience and the services that we both offer to assist the many that are on their ascension journey, basically. And so yeah, we are hoping to have this show every week um, on Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And the show will be called Galactically Speaking with Katrice and Racquel. And so I'd like to welcome Katrice to the show, and let's have her speak about her journey and her awakening and anything else she would like to share with us. So welcome, Katrice. I'm so pleased to have you here, and welcome, welcome, welcome.
I know, this is awesome. I have to share with everybody. I have never actually, or had never actually even listened or watched a podcast. And then as soon as you came to me and I went, hey, that's kind of cool. I've never done that before. Sure, let's have at it. So I finally watched one yesterday and I went, oh, okay. So she's got the expertise to be able to figure out how to get all this stuff going. And all I have to do is be here and share my bit. So, how did I get to where I'm at? As she mentioned, the bit about disintegrating vertebrae, because I'd always been very, very fit, I'd managed to keep that pain at bay. And then my husband decided that I should have like a real job like other people. So I stopped being a fitness professional. And then it wasn't very long before I really started being in a lot of pain. So being as somebody that was not really very trusting of myself my whole life, to actually say to a surgeon, nah, I don't know, this just doesn't quite feel right. And I have just, that started my journey, learning to trust myself, realizing that we are all capable of healing from the inside out. In fact, on one of my business cards, I always wrote, creating life from the inside out. And that's what we're doing, because in here is that higher vibrational being that, as Racquel knows, is able to connect in with so many other extremely higher vibrational beings, not to mention the universe. And that's that energy that we're all capable of tapping into and making use of it. So many people think of this stuff as very woo-woo. And there's parts of it I sort of go, "Meh," but I totally understand because of all the stuff that I've seen, that I've experienced, that has really woken me up to that understanding that we're just a little tiny piece of this wholeness, right? And when you suggested the podcast, I thought, wow, I have conversations with people here, there, and everywhere, but to actually dedicate an hour to talking about all these things. And every week, something else is coming up. I don't know, when you start following your own unique flow, what happens is the universe goes, yeah, I've got a live one. Let's start putting some more stuff in front of this person and see where she's going to go. And I'm very lucky that as a senior, I don't identify with being old or this being the end of anything, because I'm fully conscious of the fact that as a soul, you just continue on. It's just this little physical body that you got to contend with while you're here now, right? It's funny, I've got a number of different cards, and this morning, this one deck, every so often I'll pick a card, and it was all about earth magic. And what it said was, at least to me, we need to honor the earth and our place on it for us to be able to evolve, for us to be able to ascend into something better. So many people out there are saying to themselves, I don't want to be in this body. I want to just ascend. And they seem to think if you ascend, you leave your body. No, you don't. You just rise up into that higher expression. And once you do that, as you well know, amazing energy starts coming to us and information. And we stop questioning all of this weirdness and realize this isn't weird. This is our reality. Anyway, well, there's my little burb so far.
Wow, talk about an introduction. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. You've hit on so many beautiful things in that, in that little blurb that you just went off on. And
It
it's
was,
true, it's like so hard for the everyday people to make that leap of faith, if you will, to engage with the universe and to welcome that energy into their being,
because
right?
they're afraid for some reason.
Yeah, and I attribute it to the programming of, that we've been under for I don't know, the last few hundred years, right?
Uh-oh.
And when you say earth magic, that's so, so true. If you don't connect to Mother Earth, then that connection to the divine is automatically disconnected, right?
Yes.
Because that was the true energy that anchored us into this planet, into this plane of existence, that
Mm,
connected us to the higher energies, to the creator, if you will, right? And when
totally.
that severing happened, and you'll find this out when you read my book, I go into detail about the Draco invasion. Unfortunately, we have been invaded by perpetrator energies, right?
I'm
And
sorry,
so,
what energies did you say?
perpetrator energies.
Perpetrator. Uh-huh.
Yeah, I call them perpetrators because they were not meant to be on this earth plane, right? They were invader beings, and so they energetically messed with the energy fields of the earth plane, which was vibrating at between a fifth and a seventh dimensional energy field, right? And
Mhm.
so after the invasion, it's almost like they sliced our energy field and then devolved our energy field into a 3D vibrating energy,
Ugh,
right? And so
totally.
they exist between a fourth dimensional and a third dimensional vibration. And so they try to adjust the energy field within this planet that they had obviously invaded and took for their own, and so they wanted to live here, right?
Mhm.
Like any invading species, right? You want to make that your home, right? Once you've claimed it, right? And so to be able to live here, they had to bring it to their own frequency. And so that's when the severing happened. And so we are now coming full circle back to that place where we can go back to that fifth and seventh higher dimensional energy field. And there is a scientific reason for this because the Earth, or I should say astrological reason, the Earth is traversing through what is called the photon belt. at
Yeah.
the moment, right? And so we are engaging with those higher energies, which were in alignment, or which are in alignment with that 5D, 7D energy that used to be the Earth's energy. And
Totally.
so, whether we like it or not, everybody on this Earth plane is being exposed to that energy, right? And so, whether you're in 1D, 2D, 3D, 4D, or even 5D, because there are some beings that are in 5D and they have been born, with that energy in their field. So, whatever energy you are vibrating at, you are going to be exposed to that higher energy that's coming in from this photon belt. And so that, in essence, is allowing us to have this evolution in our souls, right? To get onto that higher dimensional path. And so, yeah, it's so important to be clued in and to be able to anchor our energy and tune into that energy again, right? And so, yeah, I'm so glad you mentioned that, because it's part of each and everybody's evolution process to anchor that energy, right?
And that's why we're seeing, okay, there's always people that are suffering, right? On a deep soul level, right? And once they open up to who they are, that suffering starts to diminish. But regardless of how high vibrationally we are able to tune into, everyone right now is feeling it. And those ones that are on that lower level are terrified because their whole reality, they can see it shifting and they don't understand it. Right.
Exactly,
I,
exactly.
I met a woman, I do readings at, well, I don't even know if I want to call them. I do like soul communication sessions, let's call it that, with people. And there was a woman that wandered in the other day, and she wanted to know, oh, I don't know, I'm kind of, uncomfortable. And I went, hello, do I look scary? Come, I'll show you what my cards are all about. Well, I have this one deck that are very profound. And I said, here, just grab a card. And she hadn't even looked at what was on the card, but she was afraid of the cards. She was afraid of the cards. So
Yeah,
I went, oh, come now. What's going to happen? Well, what are you going to tell me? And I went, well, hopefully I'm going to spark a little bit of light. We'll see what happens. So she flipped a card over, and she sort of, I could feel her go. I went, okay, take a breath. What is it that is scary about this? And she stopped, and I grounded her energy, and I went, now look at it again and tell me what you think. It was it was one of the reasons for me that let me know why I do what I do. Because this woman looked, all of a sudden, this awareness came up. The tears, of course, start. And she was just absolutely blown away. But how clear this one little card was for her. So, I guess what I'm saying is those lower vibrational beings need people like you and I that are not threatening, that are basically normal, so that they can step into that higher vibe for themselves, right? A lot of people
absolutely.
would say to me, so you're psychic? And I'm going, well, everybody has that psychic ability. It's one of our senses. However, it's not, I wouldn't so much say I'm psychic, but that I tune in intuitively to what's going on. And when people realize tuning in doesn't sound quite as scary as psychic, right? So it's semantics, I guess, at the end of the day, how you share.
And it's the words too, right? It's
That's
the
what
words,
semantics is
right?
all
Yeah,
about. Yeah.
exactly. It's the words that have sort of instilled fear in the minds of the collective.
Mhm.
When you think about, and it's rooted deeply into religion. It's rooted deeply into being intuitive. It's rooted deeply into, um, and in those days they called them witches, right?
Yeah,
And they were they were put into trouble because they got into trouble because of that, right? Because they were um, innately able to bring these gifts to the world, but they
that
were
was
not.
scary to the patriarchy. That's what the whole
Exactly.
thing,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So
So when you're in fear, it just locks you out of understanding, out of engaging with what your true potential is. And so
and it
it's a
wrecks
very,
your body.
yeah, it's a very low vibrating energy. It's very
Mhm.
debilitating. And
Okay.
so you're right on, you hit the nail on the head.
The whole thing is, if we're not, people don't realize, okay, our thoughts translate into what we see in the world, right? And if you've got all these scary, debilitating thoughts going on in your mind, it filters down into your physical body. And,
Absolutely. And it finds a place to stay there and it becomes a disease.
and so when you find out or you start really looking at, okay, so my back, right? Oh dear, what was that? And I could think of different things in my life that would have contributed to it. But at the end of the day, when I realized, okay, this is not just something's got to happen, figuring out that part of my body. And there's a book called The Anatomy of Spirit by Carolyn Mace, I think. Yeah. And it's amazing. I went in and I looked, okay, what's the lower back? What is that all about? And when I've read these things, it was all about feeling like I belonged. It was a sense of community, a sense of family. And I'd never trusted anybody else to, are they really, my family? How did I get here? I was one of those. But once you understand what that root cause is, you can start changing the way you think of it. You can look at, like, it was obviously the best thing that could have ever happened to me, because I
Do you
certainly.
think, sorry, let's just track back a bit. Do you
Okay.
think that you originally encountered that fear yourself that made you pivot and then explore the energy aspect of your healing yourself?
Oh, that bit about from long ago and far away.
When you were diagnosed, yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh my God. And it was really interesting because we had just moved and across, I was sitting in my kitchen the day I got that, no, we'll talk about scheduling surgery. And I'd come home going, and I remember wanting my husband to come with me because I was really scared, but he was too busy. And it was really interesting. I went, oh, okay. So I'm on my own here. That was a pretty scary diagnosis. I come home and I'm sitting at my kitchen table, sort of looking out across the street, and I see this my neighbors who I hadn't met yet. And the husband and wife are in the car, and he backs the car up their driveway, and the door opens, and it looked like teenage boys came out. And I went, isn't that nice? Everybody comes to greet mom and dad. Unbeknownst to me, though, the reason one of the boys had come out was to put the wheelchair next to mom because she was in a wheelchair and she wasn't much older than I was. And I'm going, holy shit. I can't see my kids and my husband being, I thought, I can't do this. It won't work. And so it was that understanding that I don't want to have to depend on anybody else. It's time for me to step in and really start trusting my own divine power in whatever way that was going to express itself. And up until that point, I had never looked at stuff like that. So it was, yeah. And when I told the surgeon, he goes, I'm really glad you told me that. He says, I don't see you doing well in a back brace, a full back brace for 6 months to a year. You know, the funny thing, all I could think about was, holy shit. Pardon me. Sorry.
No, no, that's fine. That's fine.
I I thought, oh my God, if I'm in a back brace or with things in my back, I won't be able to dance. That's all I could think about. Well, there's no way I'm not going to be able to dance. And I still, all the time, right?
And that's truly amazing. So what happened after that? Like, did they resist you not taking the surgery? Like, what was their
No, not
guidance
at
after that?
all. No, the universe had brought me this amazing man who he didn't know me well, but he goes, I don't see you doing too well doing that. And he goes, can I connect you in? And he knew somebody that worked with people with chronic back injuries, right? With, I want to say he was with workman's compensation, whatever he was, for the province. And because I'd been I guess I hadn't said this, I'd led fitness classes and been a trainer for years, right? So getting into the gym, I knew it was something I had to start with. So that's what happened. I started there. I found somebody I thought I needed a hypnotherapist. So I found this guy. And of course, he happened to have been a psychic and a yogi. And I went to him and he tuned me in to that level of me that was the healer. And I had no idea about that. But it just, everything just kept happening, right? The person that I took Reiki from was fully pure energy, had no ego involved at all. And the very first day when she poof initiated me, it was like boop, 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 boop. I knew exactly what was going on. And she didn't try and go, oh, no, you can't know that, right? So that's another thing. When you finally start opening, the universe just keeps putting the next thing right in your path, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so how long did it take you to sort of get to a stage where you were where you could say, I'm completely healed, I don't need to go into surgery? Or was it like, did your doctors then confirm that you were completely okay?
Well, years later, okay, if the initial um, X-rays and scans and everything, it showed my back. They said it looked like the back of an 80-year-old. Okay, so it was pretty rough.
And you were
And
in your 30s at this point.
yeah, I was in my 30s. Yeah. And when did I think it was within 2 weeks of working out in the gym, I started feeling more like me, right? The physical stuff started feeling better. And then I started training other people that had stuff because I had that in my background. And there was still times where, oh my God, my back hurt a lot. But I just kept getting stronger and stronger. And I want to say it must have been almost 50 years later, 50, sorry, 20 years later. And I was living out of the country and I was having issues again with my hips and, ugh. But he did x-rays and then he sent for the ones from way back when. And his x-rays showed that the vertebrae had regrown because we're able, and right then I went, oh, so what's really going on then right now? And again, what was the hips all about moving forward? Anyway, so that's when I knew for sure. And there's still times now where my back might hurt a bit. But hello, I'm in my 70s, right? We get aches and pains as much as you want to pretend you don't.
Yeah. Well, I'm in my 50s. I get aches and pains, so
Oh, there
you're
you go.
doing fantastic. And
Yeah.
you've lived a normal life since then, right? Like you dance and you exercise and you do everything like a normal person, right? There's
I
no
go a little above and beyond a normal
I know.
person.
Yes, yes,
You know what I
absolutely.
mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
No, I
yeah.
totally know your energy and you're a very, you know, go get it kind of energy, right? Yeah.
But okay, there's another thing too. When you really take I want to say control of your own energetic vibration, it has an effect all around you, right? People always comment on my energy, right? And I sure it's because I tune in on that higher level. It's not like I walk around going om all the time or seeming like a little weird, oh, she's so spiritual. I'm not like that at all,
Yeah.
right? But it's being able to feel alive and vibrant when I see so many compatriots just falling apart. And it's like, geez, let me help you. But I scare them because I don't act like them. I don't move like them, you know? But yeah, discovering you can really change things. Like right at the very beginning, I felt better. As soon as I could feel myself, my physical body was starting to move again, right? So
That's
I'm just
awesome. Such
lucky.
a great story. Yeah, such a great story. And it's
But
amazing, right? Like once you tune in. So when did the energy of, I guess, the higher energies sort of start speaking to you as a healing modality for others, if you will?
oh God, I'm not kidding. Within 2 weeks of taking that Reiki course, I was starting to run. And I never even called them Reiki healing. It's funny. It was I always talked about it was just, activating your life force. And that's what Reiki is, right? Life force energy. It's tuning into all of that. And then you said, when did the higher energies? It's not so much that I would have conversations like you do. It would be like, boom, this thought form would come in. Do you know what I'm saying? I did spend a lot of years writing and realizing that, oh, okay, I'm just bringing in this higher vibrational energy. But it was always, I used to call it messages from beyond and within, right? It was that connection in with all of us. And I don't know why I stopped writing. I think it's because I came back to the city and it was time to start hustling a little bit more, right? So
Yeah, that's living in the 3D for you, hey? You have to survive. And
yeah,
that's really unfortunate, right? Because it just smothers your true innate um, creator energy, if you will, right? Because
but then it's
if you
always, sorry,
go
I
ahead.
was going to say, I never came back and started to get a job. I'd never
Yeah,
been
yeah, yeah.
good having a 9 to 5 thing anyway, right? So it was just getting myself out there again, doing what I do in another city because I'd
Hmm.
been gone for 5 years. And that
Right.
was just, again, it just, everything flowed, you know? Was it always sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows?
No,
No.
no, we all have those challenges, right? Yeah.
Like people that think,
And there's growth in that. Like every
yes,
challenge that's put in front of you, there's growth in that. And there's that elixir, right? That happens that, and if you're conscious about it, it just opens it up to you and it just presents itself in a way that shows you like this is where you're going and this was the lesson that you had to learn in order to move forward on your path, right? And embrace more of this energy. The way I look at it is if something bad happens to you, it's like once you understand it and once you release that energy, it's like it goes it disintegrates from your being and then the light pours in and replaces that energy, right?
yeah.
Don't
It's
you
like,
feel that way?
oh, it's
Yeah.
so it's I have this one client I've been working with every week, right? And it's been a long time since I've done that. But watching this woman come into an awareness of who she is now, integrating everything that came before to where she is now, it's just it's all about, I always say, you have to be in awareness, be in the highest conscious awareness that you can be, so that as you, when you'd said, you get rid of that old stuff and it fills with light and it just expands everything. You know, she says to me, I don't know how to explain this, but I feel so light, yet so big at the same time. And I'm going, yay. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's so
And
lovely to get those confirmations, right?
well, for everybody, I think it's like even when you know, when you do sessions with people, right? Oftentimes you're sharing things with them that they already knew anyway, right? But it's like they need some sort of confirmation that they're not out of their mind or that this isn't possible, right?
Yeah.
If
A lot
something,
of times it's just you guiding them and like moving them away from that fear or whatever it is that they're struggling with. And they just need that helping hand to sort of move them back into their true path, into their true purpose, right?
and that's what it's all about. When you talk about true purpose, so a lot of people go, oh, I don't know what my purpose is. But you know what? One of my purposes, and it's quite interesting, was always to finally come into a place of acceptance for all of me in my own unique glory. And that's huge because so many people are trying to push away parts of themselves that they're not comfortable with. But the more you push pieces of you away, the less whole you are. Okay, you don't want this part in your world. Well, let's work with it and see where that root came from. And then we can, they even can consciously let it go. And it's so empowering, because they always just go, oh, you're amazing. Nah, it's
You
nothing.
did it.
You did.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
allowed yourself to open to possibilities, right?
absolutely.
Like even that woman that was afraid of the cards, but she allowed herself to have one, and boom, this woman stayed at the store for another hour, an hour and a half. She just kept wanting to talk, and that's obviously what she needed,
Yeah.
right?
And that's the draw, if you will, of that creator energy, right? It's like once you're in that energy, it's like you don't want to
More.
leave. You want more. Exactly. And it happens to me every time I tune into or go into meditation. It's like,
Uh-huh.
you go into this blissful state of being, and you know that you have to leave because you've got your day planned out in this 3D world, and you've got things that you need that needs your attention. But it's just such a beautiful energy that you just feel so whole and so at peace and harmony with everything in that state, right? And to carry that with you on a daily basis, it's just incredible.
It is. And it's like I find too at the beginning of this year, decided, okay, there was a bunch of different stuff around me that was like messing with my balance, right? And I thought, well, I don't need this, and this is really outworn its welcome. And I'm just going to do what brings me joy. And so I started thinking about, well, what are the things that bring me joy? And it's quite interesting that I love the work that I do. I love the connection with others. I like from the time long ago and far away where I always felt I didn't belong with any particular group. I love bringing circles together. Do you know what I mean? And those are the things that I really enjoy doing. And so the universe went, okay. And now I'm at this point where I'm having to make sure, and it's only what, mid-month? What's the date? The
The
17th, right?
17th,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's only mid-month, and I've got everything in alignment with what I wanted to be. And I'm going, wow, okay, but remember to give yourself a day here or a day there where you have nothing. That's the one thing that I do know. When you do this higher vibrational work, you really need to dedicate time to you.
Absolutely.
And
Self-care is so important.
yeah, even if it's just sitting in a sunbeam, it just to take a moment and let that be okay, right? All the times we spent, especially when you've been in, executive positions, when you are working and working and going, the idea of doing nothing, we always thought of as being a wasteful bit of time. But doing nothing is something, right? It's like,
Absolutely.
yeah. Well, as you
Well,
said,
that's where all the creative ideas come in, and you
in
start
that still
engaging
point,
with your higher energies, and it's like you're tuning into the creator energies and the universe, and that's where your mind is sort of aligning with all of those energies. It's like when I tuned into Mary Magdalene last week, she was talking to me about the circles that we had been doing, right? And she said to me, it's like and she was like so happy that we were doing these circles, right? And so the way she transmitted that energy or that message to me, she said, it's so beautiful for me to watch your collective energies come together. It's like watching a distorted geometric figure, if you can imagine, like a
yeah, yeah,
triangle, right?
I
It's
think
all
I'm in.
screwed up. And she's like, it's like watching a geometric figure unraveling itself and
And
correcting
aligning.
itself and aligning to the higher energies. How
Totally.
beautiful, how beautiful. I got goosebumps just now just talking about it.
I
But this is
know.
what they are seeing and they are witnessing when we come together as a group or individually and align our energies to those higher energies. It's like our individual screwed up messy selves are aligning to those higher energies. And so, there's this um term we bandy around called karma, and a lot of people don't necessarily like that word, but
Is it three?
karma,
Oh, karma.
yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So, you're basically unraveling past lives or even this lifetime. Dealing with this lifetime itself is more than enough for many, right?
Yeah.
But for me, when I and I've been working on my past lives now for about 10 years. So unraveling all of that and correcting and aligning it is like, it's a huge undertaking, right? And so when we do this in a collective manner, it's like you first of all enhancing your abilities, but when you come together as a group, you become that much more powerful, and you are aligning as a group,
Oh,
right?
completely.
And so you're helping each other to heal, not only on the physical, but you're healing etherically and on the soul level. And so all of that karma from past lifetimes are like, they're just lining up, right?
Well,
And so
also, each one of us that goes in, tunes in, alters our vibration, right? We lift it. And anyone in our realm, regardless of what's going on with them, they're going to feel that energy. They're going to be affected. This same woman that I was talking about earlier, her son, who has some disabilities, lives with her. And she said she's noticed a distinct change in his energy since she has been getting more aligned with hers. And he's starting to do really nice, special things for her, not saying anything, but she's feeling this shift because of how she's shifting within her. And so people also need to be very aware of the fact the more that you heal, the more that you come into, I call it vibrational alignment, the more you're going to see the discordant energy around you. And it means oftentimes we tend to, it's almost like cull the herd of connections that we have, right? So that we open ourselves up to be able to bring in even more beings of light or vibration, whatever way you want to call it. It makes
absolutely.
a huge difference. And the more people that come into circle, and it doesn't have to be a huge circle either, 5, 6, 10 people, it's an amazing amount of energy that you can use with. And then collectively, all the energies, if we want to talk about energies, the higher vibrational energies that people talk about are assigned to us when we land on in this physical form. You think about all those, it's like layers and layers of energy that we're all tuning in. I liken it to throwing a rock in the water and watching the boom, boom, boom.
The
And that's
ripple
what we're,
effect. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. And it's so true. It's so true because the minute you start aligning with those energies, let's say you're aligning with like fourth dimensional, and then you realize what the fourth dimensional is all about, you move into the next ripple effect, which is the fifth dimension, right? And the energy field in the fifth dimension is on a higher vibration. And so your guides that are protecting you or guiding you, to me, I see it this way. You have like a primary guide,
okay.
and then all these additional guides. It's like they take on the job, if you will, as you move
Yeah.
through the energies or the energy fields, right? And so they come online and they speak to your main primary guide and say, okay, you are in alignment with this being, come on, hop on board. And so they come into your field and they guide you through that fifth dimensional energy field, if you will, right? And then you move on and you move on and you progress and you evolve, right? And so these energy fields just open up all the way, and if you really pursue them, you can see into so many higher dimensional fields, right? And so it's
And it
just a
doesn't
matter
feel,
of tuning in and opening up.
and it's not scary. That's one
No,
thing, people. And
absolutely not.
you can get into that higher vibration. Anybody can. And it's just by stepping out of, well, you've been around me long enough. I have this thing about 3 breaths. The
Yes,
first breath, you become conscious. The second breath, you breathe into the earth, fully align here. The next breath, you open your crown and just feel yourself reaching up into that higher consciousness. Just even saying it, you feel the top of your head expand. And it's so amazing because that's taking us into that higher vibration in the here and now with 3 breaths.
absolutely.
And it's just the look on people's faces after I've taken them through those 3 breaths the first time. It's like, what did you just do? I just helped you breathe for a moment and then we begin, right? That I think people think it's so hard to do. It's
Yeah.
just getting out of your head.
Absolutely. And even meditation, like when you ask people, have you meditated before? They're like, whoa, they go into this defensive mode. It's like, it's totally it feels like it's unapproachable to them, right? And it's true. When you come back to or when you come to the basis of it, it's just breathing and bringing yourself into that present moment, right? And
Totally,
you
and letting go of everything all around.
yeah,
And it's well, what is it? Be here now. Isn't
yeah,
that Ram Dass? That was so
yeah,
long. He wrote,
yes, it was,
Be
yeah,
here
yeah,
now.
yeah.
And that's what it's all about. If we're constantly worried about what hasn't happened, if we're constantly pissed about stuff in the past or things going on all around us, well, how can we ever be in
In
harmony
the
with
present.
who we
Yeah,
are?
yeah, yeah,
You know, it's lucky. I never thought I would enjoy living by myself. Well, shock of shocks. You get to the point and you realize, well, if you're in alignment with who you are, you're going to be perfectly fine no matter where you are
yeah.
or who you're with. Do you know what
It's
I
very
mean?
empowering, isn't it? Yeah,
It is. And it's also kind of scary because you get to the point where you don't really need anybody else around you. But
yeah,
like a normal human, you should have other beings in your world, right?
yeah. And that's where the circles come in, right? You have community and you don't really feel lonely anymore, right?
Well, I'm a major gym junkie. I don't
Yeah,
want to say junkie, but I go to the gym 4 or 5 times a week, right? It's what I call one of my happy places, right? And it's because I can feel how strong I am in my physical. And of course, everybody knows me. I almost asked them the other day, am I the oldest person in the gym right now? Because I usually am. So
yeah,
there's that. But I live in an area I never in a million years imagine living. But it's like we have this wonderful little community. I have grandkids that don't live in the city, but I've got I don't know how many kids in the neighborhood that call me Grandma Cat. And it's like, hello, it's like I have family and people, they notice if I don't leave the house for a couple of days, right? Are you okay? It's like, yeah, I'm great. I was just sort of tuning in,
yeah.
right?
That's
And it's the
awesome.
same
Yeah,
with you too, right?
yeah,
You've had tons of people around you, and then you've had nobody around you, right?
yeah. And it's funny because people say, do you ever get bored? I'm like, I never get bored. There's always something to do. I mean, I've got my writing, I've got my classes, I got my meditation, and if I ever get bored, I can tune into the Akashic records and take a course on something. It's like, how could you
Wait a
ever
minute,
be bored?
tune into the Akashic records and take a course on something. That's a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you've got the universe at your disposal, really. You just have to tune in
Yeah.
and get those downloads, right? And for me, it's just been like these last few years since my abilities, if you will, came online after I tuned in with these higher dimensional beings. It's like I've got this repository of knowledge now that, no
It's always
PhD could
there. It's
match, right?
open.
It's like,
Yes.
and I never really studied, beyond my high school years, right? It was like I went straight into the workforce and all of my street smarts and my knowledge was basically from working, right?
Yeah.
And so I've worked since I was 16 until about last year, right? In and out of the corporate arena, if you will. And then yeah, so it's really amazing when you can tune into these energies and flip all of these corporate ideas on their head and gain all of that knowledge, that no college or no university can ever match, right?
Not at all. Because everything is out there available to us. We just got to look for it, right? And then really allow ourselves to receive it when it comes. And that is a big challenge for a lot of people. They don't believe something's possible. Well, if you don't believe it's possible, then it isn't, right? I think years ago there was this thing that my son had it in his bedroom. It went um, conceive, believe, and achieve, right? It's like anything you can imagine, you can bring into reality. You just have to figure out
Absolutely. You
how,
just have to
right?
tune in and do it. Yeah.
Totally, totally,
Awesome.
totally.
Katrice, can we just narrow in on how you conduct your energy healing sessions, or I guess you call them soul healing sessions, right? Or intuitive
Mhm.
soul readings. Um, how do you take somebody on that journey? Just if you want to just give us a sort of an outline of what that might look like for somebody, because I'm going to put your contact in the show notes so people
Right,
can access you for readings.
right.
And I would encourage everybody watching to please support Catrice. She, like myself, does energy healing work, and so yeah, she's fantastic. I've had a healing session from her, and I've gone to her circles, and it's just amazing. Every single one of them is a totally amazing journey, right? And so I would totally recommend you checking her out and
Mm,
having a reading from Catrice. So
yeah.
go ahead, please.
Okay, so how do I tune in? Hmm. So the whole thing is too, I love having people face to face, but I'm perfectly capable of doing it through the ethers and all of that. But basically, it's the format is very few people sit down with a list of questions because I just say, let's just see what's in the cards. And if they don't explain to you what it is that you're looking for, then you can ask a question. And I have to say, very few actually ask a question. So what happens is I do 3 breaths to take them fully into a place of conscious awareness where they are right here. I have different divination decks that I use. And so they pick, usually it starts 5 cards, and I just go through what comes through to me pertaining to them. And I always say what it does is it just opens you up to your awareness of what you are really looking at. And it also is, like I said, confirmation for what people have always thought. There's times too where people don't want to let go of things, but it becomes very clear during a reading that, hello, this is not helping you move forward. This is something that you really need to look at. And do you still want to have that in your world or not? And it's amazing. It's really, really clear about what they need to retain, what they need to have going forward, and all these different ways that they can get to where it is that they're wanting to be, right? That's with a reading. Whenever I do vibrational sessions or healing sessions, I usually tune in, well, I always tune in with them as to where they are right now. And then they go up on the massage table. And again, I breathe them down into a very deep state of relaxation and receptivity. And we just start working energetically. I'm able to sense when there's pieces within them that need to be um, dissolved. Let's just call it that. And so, I'm very quiet, and the hand moves, and sometimes it doesn't. And at the end of it, there's a sense of lightness, obviously, because they've opened up to all this light. And it all depends on whether someone's come for mental release, physical release, soul release. I do quite a lot of work with people that are cancer patients, especially when they're going through the process of having to go and get the chemo and everything. And what happens is we breathe into the light, and once they've tuned into what's going on, it's just amazing how effortlessly they can move through everything. Because let's say cancer, I know a lot of people who get very angry. It's the same karma people. They don't want that. But on some level, we have brought dis-ease into our body through some sort of faulty thinking, right? And being able to go in and figure out where that came from is so empowering. And that's what we work with, getting into the deeper levels. And, my clients don't have to do anything except be open and willing, right? And I love what I do. It just empowers me, it empowers them. You know, I can be in a
Absolutely.
sort of mood, but as soon as I start working with that energy, there's no need to be in it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for sharing. No, that's really
No
beautiful.
problem.
Yeah,
Thank
that's
you.
really beautiful. And it gives people an idea of what what the flavor of your work is. And so it's really beautiful. Like I said,
Good.
I highly recommend you taking you having a session with Catrice. Um,
Thank you.
you once did we did an exercise during one of my gatherings with you. I don't know if you recall this, but we were trying to um, engage with energy on the physical level. And so we had this, you sort of designed these hangers, and
Oh, right.
we did this exercise with each other just to figure out our own energy fields, right?
Yeah.
What's that process called? It's
It's almost like divination.
yeah, but there is a
Okay.
term for it. I can't remember it now. Anyway, we
Well, okay, yeah. And
so
it,
yeah, we were able to identify how large our energy fields are,
yeah, yeah,
and that
yeah.
was just amazing. So that gives you like, for any layperson, it gives you that confirmation that, yes, you have an energy field and it's vibrating around you, and this is how
Yeah.
big or how small it is around you, right? So I thought that
That's
was pretty
always
amazing.
I always think of that one as like anytime I was doing any sort of development classes, workshops, whatever. I
Yeah,
love doing that work with a bunch of teenage girls.
yeah,
They just
yeah,
go crazy.
yeah.
But it's just they're okay. You can have divining rods, right? And if you've ever done any of that, like trying to find water, trying to find metals, whatever that is. But these things respond to energy, right? And so
Absolutely.
I used to, it was too funny. I'd have all these hangers, wire hangers, right?
Yeah,
And so, what are you doing with all these hangers? Trust me, you'll see. And
yeah.
you just hold them. You know what it's like, and you start moving towards the energy that this other person, and you've said, send your energy out or bring your energy in. And as soon as you step into their flow, it's like instantaneously you feel it in your feet, and boom, boom, those hangers go out to
Start to
the
divide.
side.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it's like, God, I have no
It's not
idea.
magic. It's not magic.
No, no. It's like, and I don't even know how like, there's so many things I've done and I do, and they're part of my, let's say, little repertoire.
Yeah,
Where did it all come from? I'm sure it was spirit just said, hey, try this. This is kind of
yeah, yeah,
trippy.
yeah. No, and that's just another stepping stone, right? If you will, for the ordinary people, right? That don't really know what energy is all about. And it's like once you discover it, it's like, wow, I
It's like
it's me.
working with kids too.
Yeah, yeah,
It's like, oh my God. That's one of the reasons all the kids in the neighborhood like me. I'm different than all the rest of the
yeah,
grandmas. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
And it's just so
absolutely.
much fun because
Yeah,
they're so much closer to that pure energy,
yeah,
right?
absolutely. Yeah,
And there's certain kids that have come into this world now, they got some real anger, right? And so there's a couple in the neighborhood, right? But I've got them so that they're letting their defenses down, right?
yeah,
Because
yeah.
they know something's going on. Especially that thing with this one little girl.
Yeah.
Yeah, that completely shifted her, scared her grandma. Her grandma's afraid of me, that's for sure.
Oh,
No, it's funny.
that triggered another instance that we worked together. If you remember this, when I was working for the bank, and we had this energy that was torturing us, I would say. It was a spirit that was stuck in the building. I think it was like
Holy,
I was all the way up on the 20th floor,
I
and
still remember walking
this
around up there.
ghost, if you will, that was like appearing to people that would work late, or it would like, open and close the elevator, and it would, slam doors in the bathroom. And there were all these things that were happening. And
And
you
then
know how it
people were
is.
feeling sick if they spent
Yeah,
too much time in a certain area, that
yeah.
corner.
And if you
Wow.
can imagine, like all of these corporate individuals working for a bank, dealing with a ghost in their office. And luckily, the lady that I worked for was like, she was a very evolved person, and you met her, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so she was like, I went to her and I said, you know what? I know somebody that can probably help us, but it'll have to be on the down low so we don't scare everybody. And so I got
Remember
together
that.
with her, and we sort of conspired, the three of us conspired to meet on the weekend, if you remember that.
I do.
And then we went there with our crystals, and I don't know what else you brought. I think you brought your pendulum. And
I brought a pendulum and we did. I mean, usually have crystals anyway, but it was like, it was one of those things, when people ask you to do something, whether you've ever done it before or not, go, yeah, and spirit will help you, right? But as soon as I walked in, I remember even being in different offices and tuning into what was going on energetically with that person. And then it was when we all three sat together, once I'd identified, I won't get into all of it, but once we all sat together and went into meditation and brought in, as it turned out, two of these beings that were stuck, it was like we all could feel that heaviness lift and everything did shift. It was quite
absolutely.
interesting.
I had a very visceral experience during that time. I got into this, I could visually see this being leaving. And
Mm,
the story that I got from that was he was stuck here because his child was still alive,
yes,
and I think he was murdered. I think he fell off the building when it was being constructed. I
something
think
happened.
that's
Yeah,
what it was. Yeah. And so he was sticking around because his kid was
this
still
kid.
alive. Yeah.
Yeah,
And I had this very clear vision of him coming to peace with that. And I think we sort of talked him through it, right? Through our
yeah,
meditation. We said, this is not where you're meant to be. You're meant to leave this earth and progress your soul, right? And
yeah.
so I had this clear vision of this energy, like coming to peace with that, with leaving his kid and leaving that trauma, if you will, that he
That's
faced
yes.
during that accident, and then finding a way to connect with his guides and his higher energies that sort of escorted him into the light, if you will.
Yeah. Because the whole
So,
thing is too, it was like he didn't want to leave his kid.
yeah,
That's what it was. And being able to share with him, well, you don't have to leave him. If you would ascend, then you could connect with him energetically. It
absolutely.
would be amazing.
And I
Yeah.
think that's what he was struggling with, because he was
Yeah.
like, I don't want to leave my kid. And, we were like, you're not leaving him, essentially. You're just going on to another
Plain.
experience or a
Mhm.
plane where you can still connect with your child, right? But
Yeah.
you don't have to suffer for it, and be stuck here in this experience. And so that was such an empowering experience for me, right? And so
And me,
there's that
hello. It was
connection
like,
between the two of us, right?
well, my daughter, I remember when I talked to her that day or something, she goes, "What are you doing?" And I went, "Well," and I told her where I was going. What is she going? "Oh, yay. Now you get to add Ghostbusters to your repertoire." It's too funny.
Absolutely. That's exactly what we did, right?
It's
But
just
in a very sacred, in a very respectful, integral way, right? It's not like we went
totally.
there with big machines and trapped this energy, and you know how it is in Hollywood, right? And how they
Well,
portray it,
I've
right?
also there's some people I've recently connected with that profess to be these great healer beings. And I went, oh, wow, yeah, well, what do you do? And so this man's all excited about, and I walk around the corner and he's got all these big bloody machines that he's going to be hooking up to people. And I'm going, oh, okay, you have at it, right? It's quite interesting. So I don't know. Some people, the more um, toys or things that they have, somehow it seems to be.
It just dilutes that experience, right? The purity of it, I would say, yeah.
Well, for me, and I can remember like people with magnets, right? People kept saying, "Oh, you gotta have magnets," and because of my vibration, I can't work with magnets. It's just short circuits everything, right? And people don't
Yeah,
understand that.
yeah, yeah,
Oh, well, they're really good for you. Well, maybe other people, but no, thank you. But I mean, that's just it. Everybody's different. There's different,
absolutely.
like there's people that would really resonate to being hooked up to a machine to heal. And then because this sort of stuff, well, I would like to explain exactly what I'm doing, but I have no idea. It's all about opening to energy, releasing, healing, expanding.
Yeah,
But unless people can see it or
yeah,
touch it,
yeah,
they
yeah,
still somehow don't think it's real.
yeah. And a lot of people don't necessarily understand the death experience. There's that fear associated again with that energy, right? And to me, it's like, no, you're just moving on to a better, I don't know, maybe a better, yeah, to me, it's a better evolution of your soul, right? And so
Totally.
it's just a different energy that you move into. And I've had, again, since that experience with you, I don't know if that opened up the floodgates for me to have these experiences, but I've
Whoa.
always been aware of energies on the other side, if you will, but
Uh-huh.
I never really sort of again fear, right, of what that might bring into my field, right? But once I opened myself up to those energies, I was able to connect with people that have passed on many times, people that are close, like relatives, friends that
Yeah.
have passed on. They come to me right after it's happened and engage with me, and I feel their energy. I can speak to them. I don't necessarily see them. I can like
You
telepathically
feel it.
speak to them, right? I can speak to them telepathically, and
Yes.
so again, this draws like a parallel line for me because Yeshua, when I was writing the second book, The Voice of an Angel. That was a direct experience that he had as a light being. Like he takes you through his entire life
Yes.
story, if you will, right from birthing of a, as he was birthed as a light being, and then he talks about his energy when it was in the third dimension as an incarnation of Jesus Christ, and then it goes past that experience and the death experience of moving from a physical being into back into a light being, but an evolved light being, right?
Yes.
And then now it's like, he brings you through that entire story of what his work is like. But um, I'm just going back to what my point was. Like he talked in detail about the book, about that transition from a physical energy to a light being, right?
Mhm.
And so when I meet with these beings that have passed on, like friends, relatives, they match what Yeshua has told me about their experience and the transition that they have
Yeah.
from the energy field of being a physical being to a light being, right? And so there's that reflection of your life in the physical plane.
Yeah.
You go through that for about, I don't know, time for us is not the same as how they measure time, right? So
Totally.
for us, it could be anywhere from like, a month to 2 weeks to a month that they go through that transition period of, first of all, accepting the fact that they are no longer in the physical body. If
Mm.
it's a traumatic death, then they have to go through a little bit more healing, right? And
Totally.
then they come into that space where they then have a reflection of their experience within the physical body, and then healing takes place there again. They have to
Totally.
align their energies back to what their energy or their soul energy was prior to their incarnation as a physical being, right? And so there's this template that Yeshua has talked about, and all the other beings that I have talked to. There's so much similarities between all of their experiences. And so I feel so grateful to be able to tap into that energy and have these experiences with people that have passed on. And so for me, it's like I haven't lost anybody. I still talk to them. Whoever I want to talk to, I can still
Totally.
talk to them. And I recently lost a friend, a dear friend, um, on the 10th of December, so not too long ago. And I've had conversations with her all the time. It took her about maybe 2 to 3 days to make that connection with me, and it always comes through higher guidance. And so it's like an alignment has to take place with my higher guides, right? And so
Oh,
they sort of usher this energy in and say, okay, this person or that person wants to speak to you. And
yeah,
I
flick the
journal,
switch.
yeah, I journal like crazy, right? Just so I can keep it in my mind and like keep track of all the experiences that I have. So I furiously type everything that's sort of coming through and what's happening, right? And so it's just been so fantastic to engage with these beings and have them share their experience with me and what's happening to them on the other side and how they're dealing with their current situation, if you will, right? In being a light being again. And it's just such a different flavor. You can almost feel like, yes, this is that same person that I knew, but there's something much more to this energy, right? There's an expansion.
Expansion, totally.
And it's like, and they tell me that they see so much more than what that little life was that they had on the earth plane, right?
Oh,
And so it's
totally.
just so incredible to be able to have those experiences with these other beings, that have passed on. And so, there's no sadness, there's no,
No,
yes, of course, you miss them. It's like you can't pick up the phone and talk to them, but you can
those
pick up the
things,
phone and talk to them,
like,
if you know
open
what
up
I
that
mean, right?
crown. Oh,
Yeah,
totally.
yeah. So it's just on a different level. You're connecting with them on a different level. So there's healing in that too, and
Oh,
if I sometimes have people come to me with those energies that need to be healed, that they want to connect with somebody that's passed on, or they want to heal from the trauma of somebody that's passed on. There's so many different levels to my healing and what I offer. So yeah,
um,
I'm so grateful to be doing this kind of work.
yeah, it's a completely different way of way of being. That's all it is, right? It's like um and being able to listen, being able to ask the proper questions. When I was doing lots of writing, every so often these poems would spontaneously come to me. And I'll share one right here. When I had gone on this vacation, when I was trying to find myself, whenever that was, and I happened to be on this beautiful little island, and I was supposed to leave that night. And I'm at my favorite beach, and I'm going, I just don't feel like it's time to go home. And I hear this line. It went, there comes a time in all our lives. And it stopped. And I went, maybe I'll carry on this thought. So there I am with my pad and paper, and it started. And this is what came through. To my question, what should I be doing? There comes a time in all our lives when the road we travel shifts, our visions change, thoughts rearrange. We open to our gifts. They're always there just waiting for the lids to slowly raise and re release the cosmic gifts for which we sing our praise. With joy, accept the gift of change in always moving free to find the spark and fan the flame of your own divinity. I went, okay. And I just ripped up the ticket and stayed there for
Wow,
5 years. It was
that's
quite
so
amazing.
beautiful. Yeah.
So, stuff like that, when things like that come to you, and all I'd ask was for some clarification, right? And I'm pretty clear. I've had a whole bunch of other stuff go on too,
Yeah.
you know,
It's
but
like you ask for 1% and you get 100%, right?
because you're it's a pure question. You're asking for, whenever I feel you're asking for confirmation, you're the truth, you feel it. You can't go but you feel it energetically, right? It's like you're, when you're tuning into what you're meant to be doing, it's like there is this cosmic beam of light that goes from the earth through you all the way up, and vice versa. And it's,
Absolutely.
you know, we can go as high as we want, we can go as low as we want. We just have to make a decision where we really want to reside,
Absolutely. I
right?
call it the scenic route.
It is totally,
Right? There's
totally.
many routes you can take, but there's a direct straight energy to the creator, or there's a scenic route,
Yes,
right?
totally.
And so I think we're going to put a pin in it, Catrice. What do you
I know
think?
we
Like
could probably talk for
we could
hours.
talk forever, but that's
And
why I would love to have you come back on a
totally.
weekly basis, and we can continue this conversation,
Yes,
continue this
totally.
discussion. Um, but
And
I would
sharing our own unique ways of being,
absolutely,
right? Because
absolutely,
there is not just one way, right? And it's,
absolutely,
but at the end of the day, it's all to do with aligning with that highest vibration that is you on the level of your soul, right?
absolutely.
Totally.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
man. Awesome.
so would Wednesdays work for you? Wednesdays
Yep.
at 5 p.m.?
Yep. Perfect.
Great. Okay. So
Perfect.
let's do that. I'll see if I can get this video out as soon as possible. And then depending on how you feel, if you want to go live on Wednesday or if we just want
Sure.
this to be the show that starts it all off next Wednesday, we'll connect and figure out what we want to do
I
or
have no
how you're
problem.
feeling about it.
This feels, you know, we're having a conversation, right?
Yeah.
About
I feel great.
higher
It's been
things.
such a beautiful energy to be in your presence, and I hope that our viewers feel the same way. So yeah, give us a
Totally.
thumbs up. Let us know how you feel and what your thoughts are about having a weekly show. Yeah, just put the comments into the description below so that they stay on the show for good and not in the chat section because I think that disappears after a while.
Yeah.
So I'd like to thank everybody that tuned in today. I'm so grateful to all of you for tuning into my channel. Thank you, Catrice. Thank you so much for your beautiful energy. You're such a shining star, and
Well,
you're
thank you for asking. This is like that another evolution, right?
yeah, yeah,
Always changing.
absolutely. We just have
Yeah,
to keep moving forward. And I feel that everybody in this realm that are connected to the higher realms are being called to step up and do more than they can and more than that they have been doing in the past. And so
totally.
I think all of us are feeling that call to engage more and to raise the collective vibration, if you will, or frequency, right?
Totally.
So I'm so glad to have this conversation with
Right
you
on.
and have it keep moving on weekly and continue with this conversation. So
Totally.
thank you
Okay, hon.
everybody for tuning in. I love you. Thank you for supporting my channel. Have a great day. Bye bye.
Bye.